So now I'm going to start painting these wooden beads, and I put a tube of acrylic paint in this little container because I just found it was easier for me to do it instead of squeezing it out of the tube. Now, what I do first is I look at the grain of the wood, and I like to follow the grain of the wood as I'm brushing the paint on. You don't have to do this, but I prefer to do it because I just believe that the paint will adhere to the wood a lot quicker and a lot more even if I follow the grain. Now notice when you're painting, these edges will have some clumping there of the paint. All you have to do is just smooth that down like that, and because you don't want any paint clumping up on the corners of the bead. So I'm going to do all sides of this. Any clumping, you just eliminate it that way. And I'm wearing gloves because I don't want to get this paint on my fingers. And this is not a quick project because you may have to put 2 or 3 coats or more of paint on the beads in order to keep them in order to get the kind of color that you want. And I want a nice bright orange, and I don't want the beads to be showing lightly in spots because this is a natural wood bead, so I need to cover that up and make sure that does not shine through. And I am going to get all angles of this bead. This is the first coat. I have to do at least 2 coats. I've done some of these beads already for this project, and I did my second coat, and they look really, really nice. Really nice. And you don't have to follow the grain if you don't want to. I just prefer to do it that way. I'm going to get all sides, coat all sides of this particular bead here. And I just kind of go back over things as I flip it from one side to the other. And you'll notice there's some dark spots, and there's even some little nicks or dips in this particular bead. That's probably from the original wood that it was cut from. So those aren't going to go away, and that's okay. You can still use the bead. What I would do for the darker spots is maybe put a little bit of extra coating over them to try to cover that up. Okay. Again, getting these edges so that they don't cake up. And I think I've covered all sides. Yep. I'll just brush a little bit extra over here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this dry, and I recommend that you put these wet beads on a piece of plastic, or if you have a silicone mat, the kind that you might use when you're doing epoxy, something like that, or even some wax paper to just let them dry. And I suggest that because then when you pull them up, they're not going to be clumping on the bottom. They're going to look like this. And this is one that I did earlier, as you can see. And it takes a little bit to dry. So this is a project that might take a couple of days to do. I find that the paint dries maybe in about 30 minutes, but I let it sit a little bit longer than that. Now I am going to continue painting